So you have three ways that you can sort of invest for impact capital. What are they?
Yep, three ways. One is we run a syndication business enabling accredited investors, high net worth individuals to invest directly in funds or deals. The most common way that people engage with us is we sell a note, a fixed income product into the capital markets. We offer rates and returns and terms at the investor's selection. We take that money and we invest it in funds and intermediaries around the globe that then on-lend to businesses in place. We've raised about $2 billion this way. We've offered 100% return on principal and interest to our investors over time. And we're providing deep impact returns, so providing outcomes around jobs, economic outcomes, health, education to our investors through reports.
So with the lens through Africa, because that's what we're going to be focusing on, what kind of investments have you made?
So the investments we've been doing in Africa are varied. It's a really great opportunity for impact investing. The one that we've been most focused on lately is off-grid solar. Is a market that's enormous. 1.2 billion people are off the grid without reliable energy. And it's a market that's really leveraging mobile payments, the ability to make payments on your mobile phone. And so these new business models are now making these solar home units really affordable to a huge new swath of people. And these types of investments now are really rapidly growing, and we see great opportunity not only for financial return, but the impact return is huge. Clean fuel, better health outcomes, as well as people can have heightened security outside their home, as well as they start kind of side businesses, barbershops, buy a fridge, put some vaccines in the fridge, a lot of opportunities.
And what's the credit risk associated with it? I mean, we see in a very different part of the world, like with Grameen, you have these really small microloans, and in fact, the repayment is enormous. I mean,
it is.
97% or something like that.
Yeah, from working in these markets for decades now myself, I think it's a misaligned perceived and real risk. We work close to these markets, so we do see the real risk of these investments, which I would argue is much lower than the perceived risk that others, more perhaps traditional mainstream money see. We really understand how to mitigate risks that we see in these investments, and we leverage a lot of risk capital to bring it back to the investor with risk-adjusted returns and also meeting other needs they have around liquidity and diversification.
And what sorts of people are your investors? I mean, what are they looking for? Are they looking for return? Are they looking to do good in Africa?
Feel good about their return?
Who are they? I mean, are they high net worth individuals?
Yeah. It's a great question. We're unusual. We have a huge diversity of investors. We have $20 investors, so everyday retail investors, and we have $20 million investors. Right now, we have about 5,000 investors in our notes, and they're looking for both. They're looking for a return, and we do offer a return of 1.5% to 4%, depending on the term you pick, and it's consistent over the years. So we've had investors say in down markets, this has been the most, the best performing asset in their portfolio. And they're looking for impact.
How much money do you see coming into Africa recently, now versus, say, 5-6 years ago?
Huge difference, huge difference. 20 years ago, there wasn't private capital on the continent. A little stark comment, but quite close to accurate. About 10 years ago, a lot of the infrastructure started to get built. Really savvy fund managers started to move into the continent. And then today, we're seeing a lot of money starting to flow, a lot of private capital. And now more recently, what we're starting to see is market mechanisms develop, so capital within the continent is moving into investments on the continent.
Where in the continent? Because Africa is a huge place. We sometimes don't understand how big geographically it is. It's a very diverse place.
Huge.
So is there a differential about where the capital is flowing into?
Yeah, there is. There is a lot of opportunity across the whole continent we see, but certainly geopolitical risk plays in here. We see a lot of people diversifying across many countries. There's a lot of non-correlation among the countries, so you can create a nice portfolio if you do it that way. Kenya's a hot spot for sure, a growing hub, especially for entrepreneurs, tech, mobile payments that a lot of businesses are leveraging as they grow and scale their business.
How do you assess the risk?
The risk of our investments we assess very much with our own models, our own staff. We're built for purpose. We have 40 people based in Washington, D.C.
Do you have boots on the ground too?
No, we work with fund managers and intermediaries. So we take a specific strategy of not investing directly in Africa, but rather working with very savvy, very seasoned fund managers that work on the continent know the local context, know the markets well, and we work with them, we get to know them, and that's where we place our capital.
Who are your competitors? Either on the intake side or the outgo side. Who are you competing with? Who are you running up against?
It's a great question. It's a growing market, so it's rapidly changing. On the money out, it's a very collaborative market right now, I would argue. We work with a lot of development finance institutions. They provide a lot of the de-risking and leverage to enable private capital to move in easier. A lot of fund managers we work in partnership with to help grow and scale the businesses in place. Also local governments. You know, we find great success happens in these communities when everyone's working together, government, private capital, and the NGOs in place. On the money inside, it's a lot of the traditional firms are starting to emerge, which is exciting. We want this to go mainstream, so if that's what's happening, that's what we want to see.